Hey there, this is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness Podcast. I'm here with co-host Walter Dial, CPA and tax partner at GRF CPAs and Advisors in Bethesda, Maryland. We also have with us today my business partner, Corby McGordon. Our mission here on the podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to building transferable or sellable business value, and then for planning your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you build a business that's transferable or sellable, and then exit successfully on your own terms and conditions. Walter, a key value driver for a business that's going to be sellable or transferable for a higher multiple is improving the sustainability of future cash flows, because they're buying the future.
Yep.
And to do that with strong operating systems and systems that would increase efficiency, effectiveness, and consistency in every aspect of the business operations.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely right, Pat. And I think, when we think of traditional systems, it's your accounting system, your HR system, things like that. But I think one thing that the whole pandemic experience has really shown everyone that technology is an incredibly critical system to operating your business. And as we go forward, I'm sure that our guest has seen this, but I know just in our own firm, we're going to continue on virtually for probably forever now. I mean, it's hard to suck your employees back to the office when they've tasted the good life. So, and the way it is nowadays, employees run the show. So, technology is just really critical. And, we do a lot for our clients, Pat, but I think you'll agree that technology is just as intimidating and confusing to me and you as it is to our client. So as critical as it is, we need to find somebody who can help them with it.
Yeah, so call us crazy, right? But technology is probably here to stay.
Yeah, maybe.
And it has, with COVID and everything, it has gotten even more interesting, if you will, and tricky. So that's what we're going to do today, just like we always do. We're going to remove the mystery and the confusion from whatever topic it is we're tackling. And today's topic, improving, we always want to think about improving profitability and building value, but improving profitability and efficiency with the right technology. And our guest is Scott Hobbs, president and founder of Comtech Systems here in Montgomery County, Maryland. Comtech, full service provider of all things IT, including managed IT solutions, voice solutions, cloud solutions, custom IT, virtual CIO services. They specialize, they have a few specialties, legal, field, HVAC, medical and financial, but they can serve any small business or nonprofit. Scott and Dennis, great guys. Scott is a Montgomery County, Maryland native and founded Comtech in 1985 with his brother Dennis. He founded it when he was about 10 years old with his brother Dennis. And they did indeed start as a phone system provider, but have since grown to provide just a comprehensive suite of IT and voice solutions for clients in Virginia, DC, Maryland, probably Delaware too, I guess. Scott, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you with us. And first off, is there anything you'd add to the description of Comtech and what you guys do?
Yeah, just a couple things. I think we started, where we started was when everybody communicated with phones. And so we had clients who just couldn't be without a phone system, no downtime. One of the things it taught us was how to run an efficient quality service company. We always had to be there, one, setting up something well so it didn't break down, but if it did, to get out there and respond quickly and remedy it. We took that experience to today, where we've had to match the ever-changing technology landscape and be able to provide for our clients what's needed. And today, that's, as you mentioned, a full suite IT voice, collaboration tools, kind of all that technology that we all use today, from the, the cell phone to the desktop or the desk phone. They all work together to help us interact with clients and so forth. We've got to be there to provide all that, but it needs to run. And so we take those years of experience today and bring them to bear, what we like to call white glove service that we provide our clients. And in this world today where everything's kind of remote, you go online, you get a quote, and you really don't know who you're dealing with. We have a family owned and operated company, and a face and name, and people to respond to clients and interact with them, and not only fix it when it's broken, but give advice on what's needed as everything changes. We're dealing now with a hybrid landscape for the business. Are you going to keep the office, or are you going to have your clients working from home? Is there some kind of combination? And we've had to be there for our clients as this has evolved, either making recommendations or helping them change the landscape to meet that. So that's what I would add to that.
Yeah, so you guys have been through a lot, seen a lot, done a lot since 1985. In 1985, remind us, what kind of phones were we dealing with back then? We had the push button phones, right?
We did. I mean, you still had it, just like today. Some people haven't changed, so they literally had the hard buttons. They would call it button and buzzer. Maybe a admin assistant was pressing a button that would buzz the boss, say, "Oh, there's a phone call. Yes, can I help you?" And then they're saying, "I have so and so on hold." And so there's a flashing light that was, on several phones, and it was so limiting. But that was the cutting edge at the time, and everything was hardwired. So there was a sea of wires in a phone closet that you had to know where they all went, and it's quite intimidating if you didn't know what you were looking at. But that's what we cut our teeth on. And around 85 was digital phone systems, so it was starting to change all that at the time. And it was kind of that first wave of digital technology in the phone world. It was also at a time where a lot of businesses up till then were leasing everything that they had from the phone company. So we were coming and selling them something. They needed to understand the difference. They'd say, "Well, wait, I got to pay thousands of dollars. I've just been paying, $50 for this phone times however many phones." And quite frankly, it's kind of come full circle, because that's more of what we see today is a monthly investment for the technology that you have. But that's where we were back then.
So Scott, let me ask you a question. As Pat mentioned in the opening, from the exit planning work we do and the value building work we do, we're really interested in what drives profitability in a business, helping them to strengthen those areas to make their business more valuable. So what's your perspective on how technology can really help a company with profitability and efficiency?
Well, so for me, I look at technology and say, if I can't deliver it to you, that it's either giving you a competitive advantage or saving your money, then it's not worth buying. And I can't wholeheartedly recommend it to a client. So where it's giving them the competitive advantage, they're embracing those tools that are available today. As an example might be, we talked earlier about the hybrid workspace. So you have employees that are at home, maybe traveling, their sales team that are going, from state to state or, client to client. We've got to be able to make them as efficient as if they were sitting in the office and had every other tool available to them there. So they can have the collaborative conversations with team members, planning on solutions for their clients. If they're doing a presentation, much like we have here today, where we're trying to communicate with people remotely, you need to have all those tools to be able to do these things for your clients and be able to, one, support what they need and just collaborate with each other to plan things. Well, somebody's got to show the clients what's available and then support it. Microsoft Teams is a good example of that. It's free to those that have Office 365, and you can make it your phone system too. So it's where we would bring to the table that is showing the clients how they can meld their phone system into Microsoft Teams. And now you can have a phone call. You could be doing a collaboration between each other and simply say something like, well, let's bring the client or the vendor in. We really need them, and simply bring them into the conversation. And those kind of tools are what really helps our clients today. And it was before where they might have been doing this with disparate technologies that they were having to pay for. If they look at it today, where some of these are either built in or they're just much cheaper to own today or to use, that's really where the savings comes in. And the competitive advantage is, quite frankly, not many of the companies out there take the time to embrace it and train their personnel to have it. But boy, once they do, they're much more productive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Scott, I remember back in the 90s where the big technology decisions were who gets the BlackBerry, and the important people got it so they could stay in touch, right? Now, technology, in the digital world, it is so complex. And there are so many, when we say systems, even it encompasses everything, and it can be daunting for business owners. How do you guys help just eliminate the confusion for an owner as to how to even enter into upgrading their IT wisely?
Yeah, that's a great question. It just seems like there's endless decisions to be made regarding all of these different things.
It really is. I think where we deliver the value is to be able to understand the business that they're in. So for instance, our clients who are HVAC, I don't know a thing about HVAC, but if we sit and listen to those key people in their business and the ownership, that they will express to us the problems that they have, the challenges that they have in the day-to-day business. We have to have an ear to recognize those and where solutions are delivered by the technologies that we understand. Mm-hmm. So it could be that they're talking about their outside sales team that's really needs to be out and around and not in the office. And they're saying, we're really having trouble communicate with him, or, it takes forever to log in and get, to use the software. And there's these large delays and drop-offs. It would be a situation like that where we'd say, okay, what I'm hearing, I know how we can fix those and how we can either deliver a product or improve things. It's us marrying our understanding of the technology that's available today, maybe also our experience where we've implemented this for another client. And so we're simply turning around and hopefully answering that, discussing that, giving them options, but in a layman's term, so that we take all the tech speak out of it and just say, we can solve this with this solution doing the following. Would that be a benefit to you? It might cost about this much per month to do that. And here's the challenge to implementing it. Does that sound like something that's a solution to you? So that's where we have to do it, is to turn around and just take the technology speak out of it and talk in terms that they understand to solve business problems, needs that they've expressed to us.
Yeah. It used to be the IT guy made sure you had the right software on the desktop or laptop and maybe kept the PBX running. But now when you have a client that says, well, I got an IT guy that knows his stuff or her stuff, how do you speak to an owner there to educate them that maybe that's just not enough and they need a broader understanding of IT?
That's a great question. And it also helps me share how we can help people. We offer this full breadth of capability where we can do complete IT support, voice support, phone systems. We can help them with the wide area network, connecting the carrier side together with video surveillance cameras. But quite often there's clients who need just one of those. So we have times where we're coming into their IT team, and we've, this is actually an example of where we've helped the regional client. We do their phones, but we were talking with their IT team about problems that they were having. One was for them, they had this slow and very expensive network from the carrier Windstream at the time that they had in place for many years, and they were trying to improve some things. So we brought to the table ideas about how to connect with using disparate carriers. So whatever the best one might be, Comcast in one area, Verizon Fios in another, and implementing firewalls that would also allow us to connect everything together and make it a unified network. And their IT team, hearing what we would be able to provide, embraced it wholeheartedly. So we brought our wider understanding to them and explained this. They were able to see how it could benefit them. And again, we're helping their IT team. We're not looking to take that over, but that's where we came in, shared with the IT team kind of very specific elements that we were able to help them with, and they loved it. Now, also in all of this that we're talking about, another changing landscape is meeting all of the compliance issues that are out there. So these guys also had a retail element to it. So there's a PCI compliance that was needed there. That's another place where we can come in and help them with that. So we were able to help them in a lot of areas. Quite frankly, the next one came in with protection, and we implemented for them multi-factor authentication because their insurance company had told ownership, you need to have this if you're going to have the insurances you want in place today. They in turn asked us, could we help them? We again helped their IT team implement that. So we're able to come in and help either in part or in whole.
Yeah. I mean, so what you just said, even there's a risk element in today's IT world that didn't exist in the past. That comment on cloud computing, cybersecurity. They're two buzzwords that people hear, but how do you advise owners on those seemingly almost opposite business goals? Get it all in the cloud, protect your information.
Well, one, I think the best way is awareness. So if we're talking about the need for protection, one common fallacy for today's small business is to say, who's going to want to hack me? We just do such and such, I'm not a target. But unfortunately, the hackers of today are going after wide swath of small businesses because they know they might be able to get in some, and then it might be just the low-hanging fruit. And if they can lock up your data and charge you $5,000, $10,000, that's a quick and easy hit for them. And if they can do that with 100 businesses through a couple of months' time, that's quite profitable to them. So small business is a target. We've got to tell the story to them of what we are seeing in the larger market so that they're aware that there is a need for their business to meet today's cyber requirements, but also because if they're operating in a hybrid environment where they're trying to deliver to their clients that are home and others, they've essentially opened up themselves to a broader network. They've got to change their cybersecurity to match that. The good news is the cost of doing that has come down. There's so many more tools that are available today to do that for them. And those costs for those things have come down greatly. There are also, all these businesses are getting hit with these compliance issues. So if they're in the defense contracting space in some capacity, they might be hit with now the acronym CMMA, and that's a new one that the government's hitting them with. We mentioned PCI compliance if you're doing anything with credit cards, but those things are ever changing, and we've got to be available or aware of it to be able to share with clients where you need to change things to meet that. A lot of times the easy thing for them is if they're doing what would be recognized as standard best business practices for cybersecurity, it often addresses a lot of those compliance needs at the same time. So they seem scary and daunting, but if we've had the conversation with them, then they can realize that these things are doable and not tremendously expensive.
Yeah, so regarding the compliance issues, because that's kind of separate risk area, isn't it, from just the general risk areas that Corby was talking about in cyber and everything. Because, you know, I had many years in the financial services industry, wealth management, and there's not an industry that's probably more regulated. And there's so many different compliance things that you have to be concerned with when it comes to your IT and security and everything. And I know that's one of the areas that you guys special in as an example. So, and just helping listeners to simplify their decision-making. If they're in a particular industry, and let's just say it is wealth management as an example, should they look to bring on board, if they're going to bring on an IT services company like you, should they look for one who's, it seems like they would, have specialized knowledge in regard to compliance of their industry, and it's going to stay current on it? That seems like that would be an important thing.
It would, and I would tell you though, we also are very careful to stay in our lane. So for instance, I would not tell any defense contractor that we're an expert in CMMA. The meeting of that compliance, just the same could be said for HIPAA. There's a human side to it. In other words, the personnel, there's policies and procedures, and there's a technical side to it. So there's more to be answered than just the technical side. We understand the technical side, but even where a client is having to meet the requirements for that, we would recommend, if they ask us, someone like Kazian Approach, who is purely a consulting company that we would recommend. They in turn would recommend us if they've come in and they've said, we've done the complete evaluation and here's our total package for you, which includes the need for your policies and procedures, your personnel handbook, all across the company, what is going to be needed. And for the technology standpoint, the protection, cybersecurity, and so forth, they would say Comtech can help you with that piece. It also allows them to be, like many consultants, to say, I can tell you what you need to do, but I'm not going to be the one to come in and do it. I'll recommend professionals for those particular verticals that are needed. Well, that's where we come in. And the same would be said if I'm talking to somebody about HIPAA compliance in a medical practice. There's many more things than the technology that's needed. I can help them with that one side, but I might recommend a consulting company if they need to make sure that they've met it across the organization. So we know where we need to stay in our lane and make a recommendation to other things, but we know how to deal with the technology piece of it.
Actually, you know what, as you describe it, it sounds a lot like the work that we do in exit planning, in that we're able to recognize the gaps and know what the solutions are on both the personal planning side as well as the business planning side. But there are certain things that we don't do. Like we might, as an example, identify a gap that a business owner needs to update their estate plan, and their documents, their legal documents need to be updated. Well, we're not attorneys and we're not practicing laws. So we've recognized the gap and we've recommended the right expert to fill that gap. It sounds like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely true. So where we aren't an expert, but we recognize the need, we could introduce them to professionals who can help. That's a perfect parallel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Scott, technology doesn't stand still, and in business owners, let's face it, it's part of their infrastructure. They don't actually pay a lot of attention to it, and they shouldn't. How would you advise a business owner that thinks, I'm in pretty good shape, but how would you go in and assess, are they in good shape? And then how frequently should some kind of assessment be done just to make sure they're staying up to speed with the essentials?
So I would say it's at the anniversary of whatever relationship that you have. And for instance, let's say that it's roughly speaking about every 3 years. You might have the contract coming up on the phone service that you have, or the IT support agreement that you might be engaged with. I think it's a perfect time to get a couple competing proposals. One example of that is if we're coming into a prospect, we would do a complete IT assessment, which allows us to see exactly what they have and exactly the problems that might be there and weak points that are in there. It allows us to know what exactly we need to provide in the way of support from the hardware and software, their network and landscape. But it also gives us a starting point on trouble areas so that we can build a scope of work that would be needed. If we're going to engage with each other, here's the things that we see that need to either be replaced, upgraded, fixed, and so forth. Yeah. Even if we didn't do work with them, if they were to stay with their incumbent, we've given them a very good quality critical analysis for them to see if the guys before had done a great job for them. Yeah. And so I think that analysis it would be a perfect example there where they've done a really careful look at, inside the kimono as it was to see how things are. And if they're happy with that, then they've got peace of mind. If they realize maybe that this can be done less expensively, which is typically the case, that we can come in and save money in some area, and they've seen where the problems areas are that they weren't even aware of.
Hey, Scott, let me ask you, as we kind of get near wrapping up, let me just ask you a question. And maybe this is easy to answer, maybe not, but what common mistakes do you see? And what advice can you give to help our listeners avoid those mistakes?
I think the first one is complacency. We've always used this, it works fine, and we're comfortable with it. And that's one. And the other is just being unaware of what's changed out there and the feeling that any change is so painful to the organization that it's probably not going to be worth dealing with. Yep. So those two are the common ones that, I'll call it firewalls that we come up against. And I think if a business just took the time to look at what other tools are out there, it reminds me of an old cartoon that we saw once upon a time where, the guy's out there with a single shot gun and there's a Gatling gun salesman behind him tapping him on the shoulder. And he's saying, I'm too busy to look at it, but if they took the time to see what else is out there, what other businesses are doing, it's a real eye opener to them. And the same would be said if they took a careful look at it. It might not be so painful for the business to change. And then they've brought in, a lot of things that might be giving them a tremendous competitive advantage.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all this. It's been really helpful, very, very enlightening for us, and I'm sure for our listeners too.
Well,
is there anything? Yeah, thanks. Is there anything you'd like to promote today, or can you tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, I think the most current that we're getting hit with, or a question that we're getting hit with, or request, are the insurance providers out there today who are giving clients their cybersecurity coverage. They're demanding that they get multi-factor authentication. So our phones are ringing today where clients are saying, "How do I get that? Where can I get that?" I think that's something that that we could help them with. If it were to say, if anybody today hasn't had anything their technology evaluated in a while, we could come in and look at what they have today. There's some simple tools like multi-factor authentication that would give them an added level of protection. So it's peace of mind, but also may save them money on their cybersecurity policy.
Yeah. And how can they contact you?
So anyone can reach us from our website, which is comtech.pro, or they can reach our main listed number at 301-670-1900.
Yeah, it's funny. I tried calling you, but your phones were always busy. Then I tried to go to your website. It was down.
Don't scare me like that.
I just checked it this morning. It's working fine, Scott.
Absolutely.
You know what? That's some quality CPA, unusual quality CPA humor right there.
That's right.
Well done there, WD.
Thanks. Scott, again, thanks for joining us. Really enjoyed it. Very, very helpful. Thanks.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you, Scott.
All right, goodbye.
And listeners, if you want help in maximizing the value of your business or planning for your eventual exit, you can reach Pat at 301-859-0860. You could also find Corby there. And you can reach me at 301-951-9090. You can also access resources at exitreadiness.com, grfcpa.com, and nslp.com. As always, thanks for listening. And until next time, this is Walter Dial, Pat Ennis, and Corby McGordon signing off.